Now, in the other group final, we had a short conference team that enters as a huge favorite. And now here in the group 2 final, we have a short conference team that I don't want to say slaying Goliath, but they're definitely the underdog, given that Caldwell has won 27 games in a row, which is the longest active streak in New Jersey. So it'll be Rumson, Caldwell up at Rutgers for the Group 2 title on Sunday. But there's part of me that feels like Rumson probably likes this.
They do.
Like this spot.
They do.
A lot of their sectional finals, they've had teams that they were told there's no way you can beat this team. They've blown out everyone they played, and they find a way to do it. So to me, this is a winnable game for Rumson. Absolutely.
Oh, they love to play that card. Yeah, that we're the underdogs. It's hard to say that because they've had the greatest run in a decade in the short conference, right? I mean, they're really putting up some state sectional championship teams or caliber teams consistently. Like, I've never seen it. Have you seen it like this before?
Yeah, their run from 2010 until now, where they've made the sectional finals, I think every year except for maybe 2 or 3. It's crazy. Year. I mean, it's basically like we're in the sectional finals every single year. And we win it almost every single year. But now they've taken it a step further. I mean, they killed Willingboro, which was surprising. I think that was a little bit of an eye-opener. They're playing their best football at the absolute best time. I think this is a game, their coaching staff loves this kind of challenge. They've been during this whole run, that staff's been pretty intact other than a few, the head coach has changed a few times during this run since 2010, but a lot of the guts of that staff, like the position coaches, the coordinators, they're a lot of the same guys. They've come up with the game plans that have, stopped the teams that average 40 a game or scored on the teams that don't allow any points. So they love this kind of challenge. And Caldwell is definitely a challenge too, especially because they are not a one-dimensional team. They've passed for almost 2,000 yards and they've run for 2,300. So they're a very explosive offensive team. They average 34.7 points a game and 344 yards of offense a game. So they have a bunch of their 3 big playmakers really are their quarterback is Luke Curzon. He's really good. Harry Boland is kind of their do-everything guy. He has 629 yards receiving, but also 445 rushing, 23 total touchdowns, and 69 tackles on defense. So he's one of their stars, does everything. Curzon has a 70% completion rate, 16 touchdowns, over 1,600 yards, and their running back, Joey Marinello, is a 1,000-yard rusher. So that's a lot of weapons on offense, and that's not even all of them. They also have other receivers that are dangerous. They have good linemen. Their one receiver, their senior, Lucas Latimer, he has 750 yards receiving and 7 touchdowns. So that's a lot of people to account for that Rumson defense.
But you said it. They adapt. Rumson adapted this year with John Cornelius, the offensive coordinator. They were a run-first team through the years. But this year, he passed, and they had a quarterback controversy. I mean, they didn't know, or should I say, they didn't know who the quarterback was going to be right until the very beginning of the season. And look who they had. Owen O'Toole, a sophomore. Nice surprise, right? He's going to throw for over 2,000 yards on his first pass that he completes this game. And 2 receivers, Scott Venaccio, who's really kind of the last couple of weeks has really been a touchdown machine, and Nick Rigby, the outstanding wide receiver, who's leading them in receiving yardage. They're showcasing their pass game, but they surprised people the last round with their run game. I mean, they were running the football.
Yeah, the wind was a nightmare in that Willingboro game. They were able to get Alistair Orr going.
Yeah.
So that's a crucial key for them. I mean, you look at this game, and I guess we often talk about how many points are you going to need to win this one? And you're thinking, okay, can the Rumson defense hold this team to, 21 or so? Or is that offense with O'Toole and all those guys going to have to match them in like an all-out shootout where like we're going to beat them 38-35 or something like that?
They adapt. They could win any type of game, Rumson, and they really can. But I was so impressed with their run game last week. But then I started thinking the teams that they played all year, and then we start saying, well, they haven't had a good run game all year. Well, they played in the toughest division, the American, They've also played Tom's River North. So those are all games maybe they weren't able to run the football, but then they're playing teams their own size and they're able to do run and pass as equal, which that makes them even more dangerous, that they can run the football along with this pass game that they had this year. So I'm excited with that. But their defense isn't bad either, Scott, with Jerry Schulte now as the D coordinator only. He's dialing up some pretty good blitzes. The freshman quarterback for Willenboro had fits with different guys coming at him, and they did a really nice job of dictating defensively too. So Rumson's clicking right now. I don't even count what their record is. 8-4. They're one of the hottest football teams.
And I just think of over the years, right? That 2010 when they won their first one, they shocked the Mattawan team who was blowing everyone's doors off and had an incredible offense. They held them to 7 points. And a couple of years back, they beat a Wequahic team that I believe entered averaging like 45 points a game or something crazy. And they completely shut them down and beat them in a low-scoring game. Mm-hmm. So they are certainly capable of coming up with a game plan to stifle even an offense as loaded as this one is with playmakers. Granted, the running game is going to be big for Rumson, like it always is, in the sense of, again, shortening the game. The less Caldwell has the ball with all those playmakers, the better it's going to be for Rumson. So I think that is going to – the run game is a key aspect. But like you said, if they have to adapt into look, we got to throw the ball. It's going to be an all-out scoring fest. They can do that. They have the personnel to make that happen too.
I mean, Rumson, they've come back to win. I mean, they were losing to Raritan in the state sectional finals. So they played that role. And then the next week they played Willenboro and just came out right away and just blew them out. So they played different kind of games. I don't think there's any.
And I think that Raritan game just really planted a seed in their minds of we're never out of it. I mean, they were down 17 going into the fourth quarter. So if you can on the road at Raritan's Field, so if you can rally from something like that, you have incredible belief in yourself. So even if Caldwell gets on them a little bit early, this is in no way is going to be a team that thinks oh, we're in trouble. They're going to be like, we did this. I think a big game, a key game for Rumson was playing Tom's River North, because you're talking about a team that has a ton of speed and a ton of playmakers, and you saw it in person. Now, granted, Tom's River North went over 40 on them, but again, Tom's River North put 40 on everybody except one.
But they scored 27 on North. They scored 27.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, they can feel good about. But I think when you're talking about that kind of speed and that, the guys all over the field who can make plays, they've seen that in person, maybe a better version of it, because of how talented North is. So I think that was crucial in the sense of, we're not going to be shocked by what they're doing or how good some of their athletes are, because we've seen the best in the state as far as public schools are concerned.
They also played Red Bank Catholic too. So they played some quality football teams where if you consider these guys underdogs, that's a scary underdog. Rumson.
That's what I'm saying. This is a spot where Rumson has morphed in recent years into a favorite in the bracket all the time. They don't really get the chance to play the team that no one believes in, but now they do, just because of everything Caldwell has done and because of this winning streak and all the big numbers that Caldwell has on offense. Certainly they're going to be considered, the favorite. They're state ranked. They're undefeated. Rumson is not either of those things. So I think, they're going to go out and see if they can. And the other thing is, Caldwell, how many times have they been down? How many times have they faced a deficit? How are they going to react if Rumson jumps on them like they did on Willenboro? And I think and the other thing is, if you get ahead of them, you start taking that running game out of the equation. And at the very least, their passing game is very good and they have athletes. But if they have to pass on every down and can just unleash some of those pass rushers that Rumson has at them, that changes the whole thing too.
You were right, because I don't know if Caldwell's been has dealt with adversity. We know Rumson has throughout their season and recently in the Raritan game. So they've been dealing with adversity, battle tested. I mean, they're ready. I really believe they're ready for this type of game. So if they can get control of this game early, I don't know what Caldwell, how they'll react at all. Who knows?
Caldwell was in a very tight game in the semifinals. It was 13-7 against a good Westwood team that Shore Regional actually played to open the season. So that was probably a good, situation for Caldwell to be in a close game for the first. They had a 3-point game with West Essex real early in the season, like their third game. But after that, they were basically blowing everyone's doors off until this semifinal game. So that probably did help Caldwell in that they were in a dogfight for the whole game. So maybe not the best for Rumson that they just were in a close game. But again, I've just seen Rumson do this time and time again, where the other team has so many flashy players and bigger names and, this recruit or that recruit, and Rumson goes out and finds a way. So I think they're a very dangerous team getting into this game, and it would be fitting for the streak that Rumson is on that they would be the first Group 2 overall champion from the Shore Conference.
So what's the title of this game, the narrative? The Streak? The Streak.
Yeah, certainly that streak is looming above everything. When Caldwell hasn't lost for multiple years, and it's the longest in New Jersey right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other team that's played better than them in the last couple of years. Yes, it would be can Rumson end this streak? And this is a great comparison of who are you getting that streak against? How good are these teams in North Jersey compared to our best team from down here? Maybe the reason Caldwell is on this great streak because they don't play RBC, they don't play Toms River North, they don't play Donovan Catholic. So we'll find out. It's like, are you on that streak because you've just been an amazing program? And they are. They've won, I think, 6 state titles heading into this season. So it's been a good program. But sometimes when you get on these streaks, people want to find out, is that just because you haven't been playing the caliber of teams we have or not? So I think that's what I love about these group finals.
Yeah.
We're going to find out who's for real and who's not.
Yeah, this is what these games are all about, comparing our product versus your product, and there'll be a lot of bragging rights for both games. Toms River North, Rumson, we wish them the best. Of course, who we're going to pick in those games. Our Shore guys with that. So excited, big game. This is what we look for. This is what the state changed everybody's schedules for these select few games. That's crazy, though. Think about it. There are teams not playing football for now 3 weeks because the season's over with. I was with Coach Versillo, and he was so depressed. He goes, "This isn't right. I should be coaching football at this time of the year." And they're done. No Thanksgiving Day games. Their season's done. Everything was pushed back or forward, whatever, for the good of the state playoff games. And it's only a select amount of teams. I don't know if every coach likes it, but there's not a perfect science.
No, and I think that's why, and I also think that's why for years, right, that it kept coming up for a vote and getting voted down. They had to amend the NJSA's bylaws to finally play to a group title. But for years, we used to think, oh, this is a slam dunk, but it would come up for a vote, and ADs kept voting it down. So there is that side that says, why do we have to change everything for 10 teams to have games on this weekend? I get it. The season feels very abrupt for some teams. Like, all right, it's just over, and it's like barely November. That I think can be a little jarring to people.
And teams are just.
And then the other choice is just picking up a game that maybe you're like, all right, we're just gonna get together and play, but nobody really cares about this.
No, people are telling me, oh, we picked up a game, we're playing here in 4 days. It was not climatic. It was crazy. It was hard to keep tabs as a media guy, who's playing, who's not, making sure that we're covering your games. I don't like it. I like to have the schedule already printed out, and we can,
it just feels very informal. It's almost like a scrimmage where you're like, hey, let's just get together and play a game. Like, you don't even really have films. You're not scouting. You're just deciding to just slap together another game for the players.
Well, so that's how it was. Part of it.
Yeah.
Coaches just calling, hey, what are you doing next week? You want to play another game? All right, let me see who can make it. I'll get back to you in a couple minutes. Click. Yeah, it's crazy. The other crazy thing is the Shore Conference came out with their divisions, and we'll talk about that another time. And not everybody's happy because we're changing things and this and that. And there's the Shore Conference hasn't been stable with divisions in years, and it's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, with 40 plus teams, there's going to be people mad no matter what the alignment is. And then, they're trying to pacify people on both ends of the argument. There's the people saying, well, these really good teams that are blowing everyone out, they should just play each other, which is how the American division gets formed.
Yeah, but Scott, you know
But
what?
then you have other programs saying, well, these weak division. I think what it did for me, is it turned certain divisions into like, who even cares? Like this is the upper echelon divisions, and these are the ones that are like, all right, that's great, but like you didn't really play anybody. So I think that part of it can be tough as far as even as a media person, right? You could go to an American division game every single week, right? Because it's always going to be a top 10 team against another top 10 team. Whereas you neglect going to a lot of these smaller school divisions because they're just kind of playing each other, and like, they're all aligned in division because they all had a bad year to last year or something like that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have a whole lot of like allure to it.
Yeah, I mean, my issue is why give out the new divisions while the season's still going on? Because now, when it came out, everybody's fighting for non-division games and calling people up, and some teams are still playing in the state playoffs. Finish the season and then worry about next season. That's my issue with that. I don't know why we do it right in the middle of the season. So if you're a coach like Oz or Coach Schulte, you're getting phone calls about scheduling for next year's games, even though you're focusing on your state championship games. It doesn't make sense. I don't know why we can't wait just one more week and then make good. That's my issue. So I apologize to those guys. Just win your state game and then worry about your non-divisions. All right, Scott? All right, we'll talk and we'll see everybody next week.